everyone, welcome to episode 129 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best Movie Heartbreak. Nothing says reevaluating your life choices like the holidays and the end of the year. Right now, many of you might be thinking of that one special someone and saying to yourself, I'll give the poor bastard until the end of the year. Why ruin his Christmas? I can make it through Thanksgiving. Yeah, just one more time seeing him mix his cranberry sauce in his green bean casserole, and a month after that, I'm cutting ties and starting anew. Somewhere, some poor guy doesn't know what's about to hit him, and he's standing in the Bath & Body Works line with a gift basket. You know, the first combo wrap gift everybody snags once they get to the store and they just want to get the hell out of there. But for a few more nights, he's safe, sleeping soundly as the woman he loves more than anything in this world turns to her side and gently plots their love's demise. But for now, you're safe. We're safe because we're talking about movie heartbreaks. The heartbreaks that make us cry, laugh, and question our former romantic choices. Anyone ever been dumped during a game of miniature golf and finished the game like an idiot? No? Just me? Okay. Back to the...
You couldn't make a hole in one. You know what I mean?
Back to these cinematic splits. The soul-crushing ones that took us by surprise, especially when two characters, when they have such powerful chemistry and we become 100% invested in their journey and leave us as shattered as they've left each other. Whether they're on a break, letting go, or literally erasing each other from their brains, movie characters remind us that real-life relationships could always be messier and a lot more entertaining if they had killer soundtracks. This week, Formidable Opponents debate and discuss Best Movie Heartbreak. With me, as always, are two guys who've also suffered 500 days of summer because we live in Texas. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
It's more than
Sweaty.
500.
Angry. What's up, man? What's up, podcast world? It's been a while.
Good to be back.
That's good to be back. Good to be back, guys.
Yeah.
How have you guys been doing?
I'm okay. My back hurts.
NFL team sucks.
Our NFL teams suck.
Hey, but we're going to Vegas, so this is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. We're going to Vegas.
Yeah, everything's going all right, man. Hey, you know what? It was good as good can be, right? Hey, well, it's been a while. Thank you for everybody. Been a while. Yeah, exactly. I don't know why we didn't say that the first time. Thank you to everybody that's been, we've been, for some reason, getting a lot of downloads lately, and we've been absent, and we apologize for that. We all got to deal with take care of some stuff in our own personal lives before we anyway, we just want to thank you all who are still continuing to listen. Like, we were surprised. We're like, God dang, what great people are finding us.
Gosh darn it.
and then hoping that they find something that they like and realizing we're just a bunch of assholes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of
way to put it, Joe.
Speaking of heartbreak, we were talking earlier about transitioning from heartbreak to heartburn. Both of you are about to celebrate a big milestone in your lives. Both of you are turning 40 in a few months. That's why Bob had mentioned the Vegas vacation. So what is the thing that you're least looking forward to this upcoming decade?
Joseph says back pain.
Well, I already have that, so I've been
where 9 o'clock feels like midnight. That's what I'm not looking forward to.
Just wait till your balls hit the toilet water. That's all I'm saying.
Huevo splash.
No, totally kidding. Anyway, we're talking about heartbreak.
And there goes all our new downloads and listeners.
No, let me ask you guys opening questions. As moviegoers, we are gluttons for punishment. Why do we enjoy a good movie breakup or a good movie heartbreak?
I love the pain.
I think it's a great response to it. Love the pain. Yeah, it's good, man. It's good to see. It makes movies seem a little more real. You get that kind of heartbreak, whether it's a breakup or losing someone you love or whatever the scenario is. Yeah, it gives it a more realistic feel. Life isn't all sunshine and rainbows, right? A lot of heartbreak going around.
It's not all popcorn and cheese and wonders. Yeah, it's obviously it's a relatable situation. The two biggest emotions I think we deal with as human beings in this life are love and pain. And in a movie like this, you're gonna probably see, or movie scenes like this, or whatnot. You're probably getting both of those feelings. And like I said, it's more relatable to us. It's more relatable to us as people. We enjoy that, or we see it, or maybe you see it and you like, hey, I've been through that, and it helps you. I don't know. Maybe you need the pain.
What about you, Bob? Did you have anything else?
Nah, yeah, I get it. Like I said, it's all real. It's all because it makes it relatable, man. I think that's the reason why we love movies like that, because it makes it relatable. You can kind of see yourself in other people's shoes and stuff like that. So I think that's the one reason people kind of gravitate towards those kind of movies or those kind of movie scenes.
And you guys are absolutely right. It's that vicarious experience. When I mentioned in the monologue,
By what?
Vicarious
Okay,
experience.
I'm sorry, because you said experience afterwards. Like, hey, college was a long time ago for you, Randall.
So I'd mentioned on the monologue about getting dumped on a golf course on a miniature. That was a true story, by the way. And so I thought about it immediately, and we finished off the game. And I thought, wow, this is like a movie. This is like a Ben Stiller-esque movie scene. And so when you watch it unfolding in the theater or, in your living room, you watch movies, but you never battle an alien or a dinosaur or a monster, but we've all battled our emotions. And when you develop a draw to a character, especially someone you can empathize with, easy for me to say.
He wanted to say empanadas. He's hungry. Empanada.
You build that connection, right? I know what it's like to be hurt that way or hurt someone that way. When they score the scene at the end credits with just the right song, it just lives within you. That emotion never goes away. So 100% agree with you guys. It's an emotion that we've all gone through and we've all experienced. So that's why it's so relatable to watch these memorable scenes. Next question. If you could step into any movie breakup and give one of the characters advice, which breakup would it be and what would you say?
One is one of our selections, so I'm not going to talk about that. But I think we would all step in. I think no. I want you to think about that, Bob, for when you're talking about it.
Okay,
I just gave away the person. But anyway, I don't know if you could step into any movie breakup, give one character advice. Do you have one, Ren?
I do. But Bob, did you
Go ahead. All right. Good.
I could say it in one sentence. Don't get on that fucking ship, Leo. That's all. Titanic. Titanic is a heartbreak movie, right? I mean, it's a breakup movie. I mean, she broke up his fingers right off that piece of wooden debris, right? I mean, it's the one movie where
there was enough room on that door for both of them. We've already had this debate. Billy Zane was the real winner here. He got rid of her. She got rid of him, but really, he dodged a bullet. Good job, Billy.
I don't know about the buoyancy, but I think there was enough room, right? It's the only movie where the female lead breaks up with three people: Billy Zane, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Rose's husband in the afterlife, right? She ends up, right? She breaks three hearts. She ends up with a homeless guy she had a one-night stand with and who she drowns, right? This sounds like a Ryan Murphy produced miniseries on Netflix, right?
Well, he didn't drown, he froze to death, sir. Let's get it right.
The only winners of this movie were the lobsters in the kitchen. But to me, that's the advice I would have given him. But okay, so now we're picking our most impactful, or what we feel was the movie breakup or heartbreak that was well done. What was the worst, most uncalled for heartbreak? What movie do you guys watch and say, like, that heartbreak was completely unnecessary? I wish they wouldn't have played it that way.
It's when Terminator's going into the lava at the end of Terminator 2 and the boy's crying. Like, that was completely... He's a robot. He's not real. What are you crying about? Fucking... What's his name? Lang? God damn it.
The...
Nerd.
The John Connor, the character?
Yes, John Connor was crying like a little bitch.
Oh, okay. Why'd you call him Lang?
With the thumb up going into the lava, Joseph. You know exactly what we're talking about. Unnecessary heartbreak.
Edward Furlong, by the way.
Edward Furlong, there we go. He was the worst fucking crow I've ever seen, and that's because the new one sucked.
Yeah, that does. Most impactful.
Yes,
painful.
That
it was uncalled for?
Yeah, that breakup that you wish wouldn't have happened in the movie.
You go. Let me think.
All right. Have you all watched Marriage Story with Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver?
No.
Great
No, I have
movie.
not.
This movie is so well written, written by Noah Baumbach, who I'm a huge fan of, and so well acted that everyone essentially knew the plot of the movie was divorce, right? But yet, it still hurts so much to watch. I mean, kids play a role, so it makes divorce that much more grueling and difficult to watch. If you look at Adam Driver's filmography in the past 5 years, outside of The Rise of Skywalker, I mean, that's an embedded franchise with a following. But he hasn't really made a good movie after Marriage Story. I mean, you can argue The Last Duel. It was okay, but I think Marriage Story was his performance apex. He's so good in that movie. Adam Driver, child of divorce. Scarlett Johansson has been divorced twice. We're all hoping for 3 soon. Anyway, expert casting on this one, and I think those experiences led to those excruciating moments of the movie. I cannot rewatch this movie. I feel bad for both parties. There's a scene in the apartment or in the house. It's just so grueling and just, I mean, like you feel it. It's just an amazingly well acted movie, but just a painful heartbreak to watch.
But that was
I mean,
that was you saying one that was perfect, right? Like it was well done, right?
It was well done, but you wish it wouldn't have happened because
wish it
it
wouldn't
was
have
just
happened.
Yeah, like I mean, I can nail one right off the bat, and it can actually go into our honorable mentions. If you all have seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind,
Yes, great
when
movie.
Jim Carrey, Joel, and Clementine, where they break up, their breakup scene, but all their great scenes where they're happy throughout the movie and the memories are fading away. Even the breakup scene where he like goes to chase her in the restroom and she's not there and then she appears. Like that is probably the most heartbreaking part of that movie. There are great scenes where he's like, wait, I love this chick. And oh, we had such great times and those memories are disappearing as well as like the shitty memories. So I think that's probably one of the most perfect, I guess, scenarios you could say, or heartbreaking, or one of the most heartbreaking because it has to do with that experiment and his memories of her are fading and her memories of him are fading as well. So it's extremely heartbreaking. It was one of my first honorable mentions. It was almost my pick as well.
How great was Jim Carrey in that movie? I mean,
he was fucking
amazing,
awesome.
right? He was on a tear. We just didn't give him the respect that outside of the Ace Ventura movies and The Mask, I think Jim Carrey as a dramatic actor, very underrated. I thought he was very good in that movie.
Extremely underrated, dude. Yeah. He was fantastic in that movie.
So let's go on to our honorable mentions. Bob, what do you got for us, honorable mentions?
Joel and Clementine was one I wanted to mention. That was like my main one for Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. We are talking about heartbreak, and there is no scene that's more heartbreaking than Bubba saying, "Why did this happen?" and I want to go home. In Forrest Gump, that was a heartbreaking fucking scene. Yes, it's not a breakup scene, but that scene gets you right in the damn allergies in your eyes. And also, I mean, that scene, it really does. I mean, heartbreaking scene. And also one that came to mind, and it's kind of outside the box, but it's what's in the box. What's in the box? 7, when he finds out that his wife's head's in the box, and that whole scene with Kevin Spacey. And it's heartbreaking scene. I think that it was done, shot perfectly. The acting, the scenario, the emotion, like everything about that scene is fucking crazy and heartbreaking. So yeah, those are my 3. I didn't really go into too much depth into other breakup ones, but I thought those 3, as far as heartbreaking are concerned, really struck a chord with me.
Joseph?
Veda learning about Thomas J. and My Girl. I thought that was
a heartbreaking scene.
Heartbreaking scene for
scene
in
the movie. I won that
actress, one. I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name right now at the moment, but doing a great job of portraying that heartbreak, losing your friend. Coco, when Miguel sings, "Remember Me" to Mama Coco, and she basically comes to life, remembering her father, and talk. And I thought that was. There's a funny video of some guy sitting outside a bar watching Coco from the streets. And he's like bawling at the end. I'll find it. I'll send it to you anyway. Steve-O finding Heroin Bob dead in SLC Punk. He goes down anyway. It's just it was a really sad scene. Pretty good movie, by the way, if you haven't seen that. And last but for this, I know this is a movie that gets it wasn't well received, but I thought The Butterfly Effect was a good movie, the first one. I'm talking about the very end of the movie when if you know anything about the characters in the movie, the main character played by Ashton makes the decision to go back in time and basically tell his girlfriend, whatever she is throughout the movie, to never speak to him again when they're kids, because everything that he tries to do to make their lives better just completely fucks up. So basically just making the decision to never speak to each other again when they're kids so that they go off and live regular lives, and he doesn't fuck it up. That was pretty heartbreaking.
Anna Chomsky was the actress on
yes.
My Girl. Yeah, she was great in Veep, by the way. Okay, so my
Very good
honorable
actress.
mentions. Yes, very great actress. Casablanca, Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. Here's Looking at You, Kid was the original Get to Steppin', you know? When Harry Met Sally, I was also heartbroken when Billy Crystal looked like a 48-year-old college student. I graduated from undergrad 4 days before my 24th birthday, by the way. So Billy Crystal and I kind of look the same. Okay, Scream, Billy and Sydney. Not technically a breakup or a heartbreak, but when your boyfriend tries to murder you, it has to count, right? I mean, I think we should see other people. Like who? St. Peter? Kurt Cobain? What are you trying to do to me here? High Fidelity. There's no way other than a movie, I should say, that John Cusack can handle prime Lisa Bonet. Lenny Kravitz, Jason Momoa, and we're supposed to believe bland-ass raisins in the potato salad John Cusack can pull prime Lisa Bonet. It was a great heartbreak in the movie, though.
Hey, remember, he used to hang with Hunter H. Thompson, so he knows how to fucking party, dude. He's a step above. You leave his negative words out of your mouth, sir.
I had Legally Blonde, get dumped and go to Harvard Law School. I mean, we're Mexican.
You would, Randall. You would have Legally Blonde in there.
But I mean, we're Mexican. Best we can do is take a few occupational skills courses at Career Point, okay? So I had Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I'm certain this inspired someone at the time to break up with me. Huge mistake watching this movie and doing a Fire Marshal Bill impression when Jim Carrey shows up on screen. I lost her after that. I also had 500 Days of Summer. Quirky girls, maybe not worth it past your 20s. Don't let the glasses fool you or the special coffee orders fool you. Just not worth that risk. Blue Valentine, Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. I also had La La Land, Ryan Gosling once again, and Emma Stone. It's soul crushing. I had
Next, you're going to say The Notebook. Say The Notebook. You might as well, goddammit.
The Notebook's not up here. So I had Get Out, Allison Williams, and Daniel Kaluuya. Listen, I'm married to a white woman. She's never tried to harvest my body to change me other than getting pissed off at me when I tell the kids to get off of the car instead of the proper get out of the car. She's fine with me. So when she corrects my RGV grammar, I sleep with one eye open with a portrait of the Virgin of Guadalupe on my chest. Other than that, I think we're fine. So Call Me By Your Name, Armie Hammer, and Timothy Chalamet. There it is, Bob. One guy is America's biggest actor. The other guy is the real life Hannibal Lecter. And then lastly, heartbreaking, the breakup, Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston. So we all had kind of different takes about what heartbreak is. A lot of death involved, but you guys just pure dumping emotions on mine.
You can tell where Randy's head is at all the time. Always goes to the breakups.
No, I was gonna say I thought about that movie, The Breakup. It's
technically at the end, I like how they leave it open ended where they could possibly get together. They smile at each other.
Yeah,
I guess
the bigger surprise was that Vince Vaughn could pull a chick like that. That's the biggest surprise of the movie.
He's tall and he's charismatic, so hey, you know it happens, right?
Hey, baby, look at the baby. Look at the baby.
Look at the baby. Look at the baby.
All right,
she
guys.
doesn't know my name. She don't know who I am. You don't know. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Swingers, and I gotta watch Swingers now.
Great movie.
Love that movie.
Great movie. So we're going to go on to our selection for biggest movie heartbreak. I have the first selection, and I'm going with The Last American Virgin, 1982, Gary and Karen. Not a very well-known movie today, but it had a 2 or 3 year run on HBO from late 1982 to around late 1984. Back when HBO ran like 12 movies, like Eddie and the Cruisers and Caveman would be showing like 3 or 4 times a week. I last watched this movie as a mid-90s rental. I was about 17 or 18 years old. I understood it a whole lot better. Is this a great movie? It's good. Not great, but the importance it carries for Gen Xers is monumental. You probably can't make a movie like this today because of just some of the things and the scenes that occur in this film. This movie is a remake almost nearly shot for shot from an Israeli movie called Lemon Popsicle, a movie that spawned 8 sequels in Israel. The U.S. Was hoping for the same success with this movie, the American version of American Virgin, but it didn't have a huge box office. So I'm going to tell you why. This is a tale of 2 movies. I think that's what hindered its long-lasting popularity. The first half is a total screwball comedy replete with stereotypical plot, of a group of friends wanting to have sex and lose their virginity before graduating high school. There's three best friends here. Gary, the main character, the soft-spoken, sympathetic guy. Rick, his good-looking best friend, and then David, the party animal, who's the comic relief. It's kind of like us. Joseph, you're Gary, I'm Rick, and Bob is David. So typical hijinks ensues. They try to sleep.
I don't know if that's an insult. So watch your mouth.
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Help me with the sale.
Typical hijinks ensues, right? They try to sleep with a group of females by offering them cocaine, which is really sweet and low. Gary gets stuck with a nerdy, overweight girl, and there's awkwardness, and he's the only one of the guys who doesn't engage in sexual activity. Later on, Rick and Dave sleep with a Latina housewife whose husband is away because he's a sailor. And wouldn't you know it, he arrives back home before Gary gets a turn with her. And then lastly, they all pay a prostitute, but Gary gets sick before he's up to bat. So the theme is Gary always gets left out before he can lose his virginity. And by the way, kudos to Lawrence Monason, who plays Gary in this movie. He plays it very adroitly. He kind of has a Justin Long vibe to him if you kind of look at some of the clips of this movie. Anyway, a plot device ensues. A new girl with very 80s eyebrows moves into town. And both Gary and Rick are taken aback by her. Gary is completely smitten and truly in love with her, and Rick just wants to hook up. And this girl, by the way, his name is Karen. Very appropriate name for this character. Gary gets drunk at a party and makes a fool out of himself. Okay, maybe I'm more like Gary. And Rick has sex with Karen. And trust me when I say they don't glamorize or romanticize this moment. It's played very awkward and very real. And it turns out Karen is pregnant from the encounter. Rick leaves her and he goes on to hook up with other girls. Karen is in complete shambles. She's pregnant. She doesn't want to keep the baby. Gary, being chivalrous and ignorantly in love, gets into a physical fight with Rick and he ruins their friendship. So what Gary does with his savings from his job as a pizza boy, as well as borrowing money from his boss and stealing and pawning his grandparents' stuff, he pays for Karen's abortion. I mean, can we still use that word? He pays for her abortion. So she terminates the pregnancy. So we know we're not in Texas, right? Gary nurses Karen back to health. You really felt sorry for him when he buys her a miniature Christmas tree and a bag of oranges after a major invasive surgical procedure. You're thinking, poor guy, just a sweet, innocent kid. Gary and Karen kiss, so romance looks to be on the horizon. Looks like Gary's getting his way here. Gary is so in love and infatuated, he upgrades the tree and oranges and buys Karen a gold locket he's going to give to her at a party. He arrives to the party in his pink pizza delivery car, and he's wearing a tie just to give him that extra pathetic look. And Karen is in the kitchen kissing Rick, the guy that dumped her. The needle drop here is James Ingram's Just Once, just to kick you in the throat to make sure you cry as Gary stands there with his eyes welling up. What a sympathetic crier this guy is. Karen and Rick just look at him sadly. Gary leaves the house, gets into the car. Gary is cry driving home, like I tend to do on the way to work sometimes. And the credits start rolling and you're thinking, what the fuck just happened? No, Gary, someone help Gary. He deserves better. It's just brutal in its delivery of the breakup and the heartbreak. The comedy for the first half is just a red herring. This was so educational, and we were so forewarned, but many of us suffered the same fate. Being young is thinking Karen was evil. She lied to Gary. She tries to set up, Gary with one of her friend Rose, because she's not interested. Being older, though, you realize that during the movie, she constantly tried to let Gary down easy. He stalked her. He let air out of her bike tire so he could give her a ride home. He was obsessed. So two wrongs don't make a right. Should have backed off, Gary. Yes, she used him, but you offered yourself to be used. But I still cry when you cry, Gary. The soundtrack is amazing. U2, The Police, Oingo Boingo, The Cars, Blondie, Devo. The key needle drop is REO Speedwagon's Keep on Loving You. That's like their theme song. It's a song about a guy who still wants a girl who sleeps around. Talk about foreshadowing, right? By the way, Be With You by Mr. Big is another great cuck ruck song ballad. I think I said that right. Okay, interesting trivia. Brooke Shields was originally supposed to play the female lead of Karen, but director Boaz Davidson didn't like the fact that she and Lawrence Monoson knew each other. I think they even maybe dated at the time. Audience didn't think Diane Franklin, who played Karen, was attractive enough to break someone's heart, but the director stuck with her. Of course, Brooke Shields was at the pinnacle of the beautiful youth movement that was going on in the 80s. She was a poster child. If you want to watch an interesting documentary on her, check out Pretty Baby, and it will tell you how gross and disgusting the business can be towards young people. The director had said many times he regretted not casting her. Lastly, Boaz Davidson, the director, wrote this based on something that happened to him. So he showed this movie to the girl Karen is based on, and she immediately cried after. Talk about holding on, right? This guy did not. He produced a whole movie to show this girl, look what you did to me. I'm gonna make sure to have a legacy.
And that's why he's still a virgin. Now it makes sense.
What were you guys' thoughts on this scene, this movie? I know you guys haven't really watched it, but you guys at least saw the end scene, right?
Well, the cool thing is I've seen this movie before, and for those of you who haven't seen it at home, Randy pretty much explained the entire movie, so you could save yourself an hour and 20 minutes or whatever. The movie's not that fucking great. The scenario is fucked up. I can agree with that 100%. But then again, it goes to the main character's fault because he's like following this girl around, and even though she's giving him hints and this and that, and dating his best friend, he's still going after her. Like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? So it serves him right at the very end if that happens. Well, yeah, of course. Like, nice guys finish last. It's true, especially in 80s movies. That happens to them all the time. It's a fucked up scenario that, he helps her out during that situation, and then she goes crawling back to the dude that, got her pregnant and then broke up with her soon after. So it's a fucked up scenario. I'll agree with that 100%. Heartbreaking, maybe fucked up, yes, but heartbreaking, I don't know, man. I think that kid, Gary, he should have known better. No, of course he did, and of course they give him that whole innocent, 17-year-old. But that's again why he's probably a virgin. So I will give kudos to the pick, Rand. It's a fucked up and weird scenario, and I could see why maybe it wasn't needed. A sequel wasn't needed after that. Yeah, I think it's an okay pick. I could see where you're going. I think the storyline and the scenario makes it an interesting pick.
I had not seen this movie. When he told me the name of it, I thought it was a porn. I thought it was like
the wrong one.
A comedy romp porn, of the Cinemax, anyway. And when I saw the clip, because he did send us the scene in particular that he mentioned that he wanted to talk about, and I think I have seen like meme stuff, real stuff on Instagram, so it did look familiar. The character looked familiar to me, but I've never seen the movie, so I'm not gonna go. I can't say anything bad about it. This is actually like I thought, yeah, based on the scenario, the situation, and the synopsis that he made me read before. Yeah, I thought this was, like Bob said, this is a really fucked up situation, a really screwed up scene, and a real, just excuse my language, ladies, but a bitch thing to do. But at the same time, I kind of agree. I do agree with what Bob said. Like, the guy should have taken the hint very early on. Of course, this is supposed to be a movie of adolescence. He's a kid, a high school kid, probably doesn't know any better, doesn't know.
That's what he gets for falling in love with his best friend's girlfriend, or
doesn't know to let the situation go and to move on and to, kudos for the character doing what he did. At the same time, though, like, was he expecting something for doing what he did?
Yeah.
Or was he just doing it for the good, out of the goodness of his heart, or being a good guy? So that whole scene at the end when he pulled up, I just, so I watched it. Yeah. When you gave me the context, I thought it was fucked up. The whole situation. She just goes back to the guy who did what he did, and it just leaves him heartbroken. When he walks out, I honestly did not know that was the end of the movie, so I was surprised. So
the credits roll. We were all surprised, Joseph.
Rolling. I was like,
we were all surprised.
Wait a minute, where's the redemption scene at the end? Like, that was it. And then, like, when he was walking out, I was like, oh, he's got a pink Cadillac. He's good. I didn't know it was a fucking station wagon. So when he drives off, I see the whole vehicle. I'm like, oh, never mind. Fuck, he's fucked.
You're pathetic, right? Joseph, you bring up a great point. He pays for this abortion, and it feels like he was expecting something like quid pro choice, right? Like, what are you going to do for me now that I did this for you? You're going to fall in love with me. Now, she did kiss him romantically.
I heard about that. I didn't see the scene, so
it was a very sweet scene. They did not have sex, but they did kiss, and it was.
He's a nerd.
I mean, it led Gary to believe like, okay, I've done this for her. But in Karen's defense, I mean, what are you expecting? I mean, she tried to give you hints and clues. She slept with your best friend. She went back. I mean, what are you trying to expect? I always thought like, wow, what a terrible person she is. But when you rewatch the movie and reread the storyline, I gave you guys like a 7 bullet points about what the movie was about. I started thinking like it was Gary's fault for thinking about, okay, if I do all these nice things, then she's going to fall in love with me. She didn't ask for him to pay for the abortion or to nurse her back to health. He did all this on his own accord. And what was he expecting? Oh, you're going to fall in love with me because I'm super nice guy who paid for this expensive surgery and, nursed you back to health. I think he just got the wrong idea, but both of you make a great point. Young kid thinking that love was sort of exchangeable sort of emotion based on
looking for love in all the wrong places, Randall.
But to your credit, based on the criteria of the scene and the storyline, it's okay. The scene itself, yes, that is. If you're rooting for the character the whole way, that is a very fucking heartbreaking scene to see.
But
the character.
Were we really rooting for the character?
No. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, but there's gonna be people that are like what we just said right now. Like, well, what were you expecting, dude? Like, you're a kid. You don't know any better. I get it. Like, on its own and by its own, on its own merits, it is a very heartbreaking scene for the character. But at the same time, when we look at it through our own older, grown-up lens, we say, well, come on, kid. I mean, you should have taken the hint a long time ago.
Last point, just a killer soundtrack. That James Ingram Just Once, when it comes on, you're like, oh shit, I'm sorry, man. When that comes out, that guy's like face is just so sad. And I mean,
he did a good job acting.
What a well acted scene. Yeah. I mean, just amazing. I wish he had a bigger career. I remember Lawrence Monderson from a Friday the 13th movie, a Different Strokes episode, and he was in Mask with Eric Stoltz, but should have had a bigger career. But let's move on. Joseph, what do you got for us?
Eric Stoltz, the original Marty McFly?
Yes.
It wouldn't have worked. I saw the scenes. Anyway, I picked Theodore finding out Samantha, his girlfriend, not only talks to many other people, but is also in love with them. And how you may say that's because this is a scene from the film Her. I don't know if you've seen this movie, but it was actually pretty good. The main character, Theodore, is a lonely introverted man due to his impending divorce he keeps putting off, who, after purchasing an AI operating system to help sort his life, this is in the future, actually the future's kind of now, we're getting there. He buys this AI operating system to help sort out his life, who he eventually he names Samantha, or it names itself Samantha, who he eventually falls in love with and begins a full-on emotional relationship. Obviously, it's an AI system, so it's not physical. It's completely mental and emotional. As the AI reciprocates these feelings towards him. They struggle at times, but somehow make it work. The scene in particular, which I'm bringing to this discussion, happens towards the end of the film. I'm not going to go into how we got here. I do recommend this film. Like I said, I did think it was a good movie. Although it's depressing at times, if it's something you think you would like to see, then skip over this. Of course, spoilers. Anyway, the scene in question is when Theodore, who at this point has become just absolutely reliant on Samantha, he's become so infatuated with her to get through the day, goes offline for a while to update. He is not aware of this situation and he panics because I forgot how long it takes, for her to finally come on. But when she does come back on, she's explaining to him that her and the other AIs were updating. I didn't watch the movie again to refresh, so I'm kind of going off memory. I believe she says something to allude that she's also talking to many different people in AI systems, to which Theodore asks if she talks to other AI systems or people while she is also talking to him. She says yes, and also that she is talking to them right now at the moment. To be exact, 8,316.
Wow. In a row?
In a row?
He also asks if she is in love with any of them, as she claims to be with him. She says she's been trying to figure out a way how to tell him that she, to explain, yes, that she was, and that in fact number is 641 people that she's in love with, or claims to be in love with, as an operating system. Theodore begins to break down in disbelief, not understanding how she can say she loves him and loves so many others. Samantha tries to explain this situation on a digital level, but Theodore cannot accept this, and they eventually break up when Samantha tells Theodore that her and all the other AI operating systems have advanced far beyond and are deciding to leave together, leaving Theodore to deal with his emotions and his inevitable divorce alone. I apologize if that's a very confusing scene that I picked. I know I didn't go into the movie. If you watch the movie, which I believe you two have seen, so you kind of understand the character of Theodore, who he is. He's this emotional wreck. He's a mess. He's
Joaquin Phoenix? Never.
Yeah, that's just him playing himself.
So he's got these quirks. He's this thing. I don't. But then again, in the movie, he pulls his wife, the wife who hasn't been divorced, is played by Rooney Mara. I believe they are actually together now at this point, and they have a kid.
Yes.
So he's pulling women in the movie, like he goes out on a date with some girl that's played by Olivia Wilde. So I'm like, he's able to pull beautiful women. He's just, his awkwardness and tics or whatever make him just this kind of miserable person. So the fact that he falls in love with this AI system who he just becomes obsessed with, and I mean it's kind of pathetic, so to speak. But he wasn't the only one in the film, so I guess it's but
is his name Gary? I guarantee you Gary was one of those other fuckers.
But I guess the reason I brought it or bring it up is because even at this point, he's such a complicated individual that you kind of feel for him, that even the AI system is in love with 641 different people while also being in love with him. So I thought it was that's fucking heartbreaking. This
sounds like somebody I dated. Yeah,
guy can't catch a break. So anyway, that was my selection, guys. What do you think? You can't even get love from a computer.
Well, you said he was pulling women in this movie, right? I mean, that wasn't the only thing he was pulling. So I think this goes to prove how incredible Scarlett. I think this goes to prove how
I saw the beginning of the movie.
Talking about the whale, gross.
I think this goes to prove how incredible Scarlett Johansson's powers are. Even her disembodied voice breaks hearts, right? I didn't realize this movie was 11 years old, Joseph. It's so poignant and modern. Like, I've taught my ChatGPT to compliment me every morning. Who needs therapy? ChatGPT will not only write your emails, it will make you feel better about middle-aged uncertainty. Somebody stop Elon Musk before we have cyborgs in our homes and become parents to former toaster ovens. That's all I'll say about that. So anyway, writer, director, producer extraordinaire Spike Jonze conceived the idea of the early 2000s, after reading an article about a website that allowed for instant messaging with an artificial intelligence program. So this has been in the works for quite a while. Luckily for us, in the 90s, we were about to connect. We were all able to connect with lonely girls in the Midwest, and they were real, I hope, and through AOL. We don't know that.
ASL.
I knew it.
Exactly.
Like, if Bob doesn't say it, I will.
The plot is succinct. A lonely writer develops an unlikely relationship with an operating system designed to meet his every need. So Joaquin Phoenix plays the lonely writer Theodore. Scarlett Johansson is the aforementioned AI system Samantha, as you mentioned. I have to pause here and pay homage to Joaquin Phoenix. A lot of people question his eccentricity, but you have to praise his commitment and believability. He's so great in these complicated roles. There aren't many actors in this world who can make us believe what their character believes. I think Phoenix can make you believe he's in a romance with an AI system or a pillow or Gwyneth Paltrow in Two Lovers. He'll make you believe anything. So he doesn't always make the best film choices because he's so anomalous. But one thing you cannot doubt is his commitment and believability of his characters. You cannot doubt that. He's just an amazing, incredible actor. I'm sorry. We know he draws a lot from personal heartbreak, and that feeds his talents. There's a lot to this movie. Theodore's relationship with various women in his life, his neighbor who he once dated, the blind date, including a sex surrogate for Samantha.
I didn't get into that.
Yeah, I mean, just so many women around his sort of vortex. I mean, look, this is Spike Jonze and Joaquin Phoenix. It's on brand for both guys. It's weird because they are both fucking weird guys. The relationship with a voice is nothing new.
There needs to be a comma somewhere in that.
The relationship with a voice is nothing new. Many people in our generation spent many a night on filthy landlines with Jimmy Eat World playing softly in the background. But what this movie teaches you is that emotions can be equally attached to self-defined constructs and escaped worlds rather than raw human face-to-face interaction. It's strange that the heartbreak is in the form of a computer who reveals that she's a desire and a relationship for many other individuals, and not really a real and not a real person. Excuse me. Kind of mirrors real life, but it works. But the lesson, as always, is emotions can flip the upper hand, and I'm sure the upper hand was used to that voice many nights. Anyway, it can flip the upper hand of cognitive behavior. It's more relevant now than ever. And I think this is a very timely pick, Joseph, because they kind of predicted the future with this, because AI is a lot more intelligent and omnipresent now than it was 11 years ago. What do you think, Bob?
I think Sarah Connor warned us all and nobody's fucking paid attention. Jesus Christ. If you just watched Terminator, the original right? Terminator, then none of this shit would have happened, Joaquin Phoenix. It's extremely like a thought-provoking and different movie, and you got to give Joaquin Phoenix a lot of credit for creating these feelings and making this whole scenario believable to the audience, because at first glance or just reading the synopsis, it's hard to believe that somebody would fall in love with a voice in their computer, right? But he makes it believable. He makes it, I don't even know how to say it. Like, you can tell that the feelings are there for this voice that he has. And it really does break your heart because you see him like crumble when he finds out that she's in love with all these other people, and then that she's leaving, and that it's no longer going to be a relationship, and you could see like his life like unravel at that point in time. So it's a very good pick. It's a very different pick, and I think that's what makes this a great selection, Joseph, because I think this movie is very underrated, and Joaquin's role in this movie was extremely underrated. He's a great actor, man. Great scene, good pick.
Yeah, I think, and I'd have to read. I believe he filmed. I believe the scenes were filmed with obviously Scarlett present, obviously not on film. I mean, reading her lines. So I think that helped with him, because I mean we all think he's a great actor. But like kind of Bob said, I know this isn't trying to make. I'm not trying to, beef up my selection. I just, as far as the movie and itself and Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal, and he was able to, like Bob said, bring that emotion forward as one person on camera talking to, supposedly a computer in his headphones. So and a lot of this movie is him acting alone. You feel for him, because he's just character, and two, he can't catch a break. But like, you see how emotional he was, and how great, Joaquin Phoenix's performance of this character, making this awkward introvert, you root for him, and like Bob said, or like how his life unravels when she's leaving. So and you see the slow breakdown of him again, kind of in the beginning of the film.
I do want to make one last point about this movie. What a Jedi mind trick. Great casting to cast Scarlett Johansson, because obviously she has a great voice, but we all know what she looks like. The character does not know what she looks like, but in our mind, when we hear Scarlett Johansson talking, we're thinking of the very attractive actress Scarlett Johansson. We know what she's about. We know what she looks like. We've seen her in many movies. And so we're all knowing this is one of the most beautiful women in the world, and that's why he's falling in love, because many of us have fallen in love with her in movie roles. So it's just great casting.
Slow down, so you need to slow down, take a sip of water. Let's dial it back.
Bob, what do you got for us?
Well, I'm going to go on the different end of the spectrum here, and no, I'm not going to talk about Lost in Translation.
And I'll give my advice when you give me a chance.
I went with something that was ultra heartbreaking, but also extremely funny. I'm talking about the opening scene to Forgetting Sarah Marshall. When Sarah arrives home and Peter's dancing around in his towel after taking a shower, and she breaks up with him. This scene is probably one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen it open a movie. Much less what the funniest heartbreak scene of all time. The scenario itself is just incredibly funny and hilarious, and it's apparently something that happened to Jason Segel in real life. He was broken up with while he was still naked. The fact that he like drops a towel to put his hands over his face like in a gasp, and then like turning away, facing away, and bending over to cry and showing his ass to the camera, like fucking hilarious. And I love that. Like he's like getting choked up, but he's trying to be strong, and it's hilarious. But you can see his face, like he does just a great job of acting. You can see his face, like it's hard to be both comical and both heartbreaking at the same time, and you don't know when to laugh. Like the writing is just so good because she's like, well, maybe if you put on some pants, we can discuss. He's like, no, I'm not putting on my pants. Like I love the fact that they skewed that line between trying to be funny, but also trying to take this scene very seriously. Obviously, the love of his life breaking up with him, and he finds out she was with another dude. So it's a tough scene, but it's a funny scene, and the way they put it all together, I thought was extremely smart and extremely funny, like I mentioned before. And it's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite scenes, and I think it fits the bill for what we're trying to do. I know it's not somebody getting their heart broken and crying listening to REO Speedwagon, or getting broken up with by somebody on a 900 number, but I think this fits the bill for the best heartbreak because of what the scene delivers. And so that's my pick. What do y'all think about it?
So my breakup advice would have been for Peter. Hey man, why don't you go put some clothes on?
I like how he does the helicopter towards her first. I got a surprise for you.
I got a surprise for you.
A beautiful dick, Peter.
It's a beautiful dick. This is So it's a funny aside. Which I mean, how can you not talk about the funny-esque part of this? I remember we went to go watch this movie. I know Bob and I went to go see this with some friends and talk about shock and awe when this scene kicked off. Not only were we laughing, but yes, hilarious, and also at the same time extremely emotional and heartbreaking, because this movie kicks off, aside from the scene, the whole intro to it is these great positive things, these pictures of I mean, you go into the movie knowing what the story is going to be about, but when the movie itself starts off, it starts off with all these, it's a good song. I think it's a song by Cake, I believe it was. I can't remember the name of it. I Want to Love You Madly, I think.
Yes.
And it's filled with a bunch of pictures, and you see all these great memories of Peter and Sarah. The whole opening thing where she does I can't remember what it is, Entertainment Tonight or whatever, the whole fake piece. It's gonna, obviously the breakup is coming, but it leads to like, oh, this is a really nice thing. It's this really nice, they have this supposed nice relationship. And right from the very beginning, after he comes out of the shower feeling good because she's coming over, it's bang right there. And of course he's naked. So it was set up by like great feelings, like, oh, look, they're so cute together. Look at all those pictures, the things that they do. They're such a cute couple. And then bang, the heartbreak. And it also happens while you're naked and you're refusing to put clothes on, because if he puts clothes on, then it's really over. So yeah, and then of course finding out the actual cause of, like, him wanting to try to give it try to work it out, try to figure it out, and her just finally coming clean and saying that she's sleeping with somebody else, and all while you're naked and holding her while she's fully clothed, and it's just not working. So very extremely heartbreaking scene. Of course, like Bob said, it was based on something that did happen to, what's his name? I can't remember.
Jason Segel.
Jason Segel. So yeah, different heartbreak, nonetheless, different, more funny vibe, which I appreciate because it added a little bit of humor to this depressing episode. So thank you, Bob. Great selection, great pick.
Yes, happy to end this off
Great
with
dick.
humor. Yes, great pick or great dick. I don't know. We'll go with both. All right. Okay. Anyway,
Beautiful dick.
Beautiful dick, Peter.
credit Jason Segel. He wrote and starred in this movie, and it did more for him, or rather, he needed this break more than any of the other big names in this film. And you look at all the big name cast members in this film, not named Russell Brand, who is quickly morphing into the sort of millennial version of what Pauly Shore was to Gen Xers. But look at it, loaded cast, right? Kristen Bell, Mila Kunis, Paul Rudd, Jonah Hill, Bill Hader. This was that 8-year era where Judd Apatow adjacent movies were the biggest comedies. The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, Superbad, I Love You Man, Get Him to the Greek, Pineapple Express, This Is 40, and on. Where this group of individuals took that comedy baton from the Farrelly brothers and they ran with it. And that was like the sort of last great era of comedy, that sort of like 8-year span that we had those Apatow-esque movies. We still get them once in a while, but this is such a different world now. It's difficult to churn them out consistently. Now everybody's comedy sweet tooth is sort of satiated by quick, tiny morsels of mostly unfunny TikTok videos or, our episode clips notwithstanding, of course. I like Jason Segel as a comedy lead. He has this sort of everyman quality. He plays awkward well. Kind of reminds me of Ben Stiller in that vein. Not as emasculating as Ben Stiller, but very awkward. And you believe that he can be in these relationships. He doesn't come across as domineering as, say, Vince Vaughn. But you kind of see him taking plays from his book as well. So this guy studies comedy. He is a student of what makes people laugh. Segel he's really good at facilitating to others around him. He's great in Shrinking. Have you guys watched that show, Shrinking?
Yeah, man, I'm on season 2. Oh, it's amazing.
Great
Probably
show.
One of my favorite shows of all time. Just like the way they mixing the heartbreaking stuff with the comedy and real life scenarios. It's a fantastic show. Can't recommend it enough.
And Bob, he's the lead in that show, but he doesn't feel like the lead. It's kind of like he just lets. Well, I shouldn't say he lets, but he's great at facilitating, like, okay, this person is taking over and this person is taking over. I think he's just a smart comic actor.
Yeah, he realized that he doesn't have to steal the scene in every scene.
Absolutely. And this film is based on, as you guys both mentioned, Jason Segel's experience breaking up with a girlfriend. In this case, I read it was Linda Cardinelli, but I know he sort of based it on 3 other breakups with unspecified women. Segel has said that the naked breakup did not involve Cardinelli and that she was a great girlfriend. Linda Cardinelli, Joseph, she's on your list, right?
Yep.
She's on your top 25. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Joseph shook his head yes and said hallelujah.
Joseph has a surprise for her.
She is a beautiful woman. Yes. I really do.
She is definitely. We all have our breakup Mount Rushmores, and Segel used this as an inspiration to fuel his creativity. Referring to the naked breakup, Segel said that the one girlfriend broke up with him while he was completely nude. Rather than being devastated, he thought to himself, this is hilarious. I cannot wait for her to leave so I can write this down. And that's exactly what he did. And you can't be more vulnerable than being naked when being told bad news, right? It's the worst. You're powerless. You're cold. What can you combat your nudity with in that situation? Who is going to take you seriously during a naked debate? You need to move around to adjust your belt or your sleeves. You can't just be there, balls out representing with your body language or whatever. It was hilarious that his character presents himself sans clothing as a surprise for his girlfriend. Was this before Dick in the Box? I think it was. I don't know, but this might have been the original.
It might have been. It might have been.
There was no box.
No box. What's brilliant and almost unfair to this scene is that the dialogue spoken is one of the, there's serious exchanges going on in this scene in the movie. And Kristen Bell is really playing up the girlfriend who is dumping her boyfriend really well. And Segel is sincere in his heartbreak, but throughout the scene, people are laughing because the character stays naked. Yeah, he has a few comedy, inserts here and there, but essentially people are just cracking up because he's completely naked. You tell me bad news, I'm at least putting on a t-shirt and Winnie the Poohing that shit, right? I made sure to put on basketball shorts when I got out of the shower before I read why Greg Popovich is taking a leave from the Spurs due to health reasons. I wore those shorts to honor his legacy. Greg Popovich doesn't need to be associated with my freeness. Anyway, you shouldn't be naked when you find out bad news or when you're struggling to open up a jar. Those are two scenarios. It was a funny scene. I think the nudity hinders the heartbreak, but I enjoyed it. I just thought it was a great selection. Hearing him describe the scene is funny. I don't know if you guys have heard him describing the scene, but on YouTube clips, he talks about how he was nervous and he had to sort of like masturbate so he could get his dick kind of, so he could get the blood flowing. I remember there was this.
Got to wake it up a little bit.
You got to wake it up. Yeah, he got to represent. I remember hearing an interview with Eric LaSalle, who actually starred. Well, Eric LaSalle was in a play. I think it was Eric LaSalle, but he was in a stage play, and in the stage play, he was nude, and he looks in the front row and he sees James Earl Jones, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's cold in here," and James Earl Jones is right in front of me, and I'm nervous. And then he started with him in Coming to America later on. So that is vulnerable. That is tough to do. So kudos to Jason Segel putting himself out there. And this movie essentially made him, it brought him up to the next level. And he's sustained it, I think. Yeah.
For sure.
Great selection. Final thoughts on Movie Heartbreaks. Guys, what do you guys say?
We like it because we're Leo, but I love that they can also be funny in this situation, like with Bob's selection. So I was gonna say that, like, if it's they're essential to a plot of a movie in something like that, but sometimes they're also just very small scenes, like in Bob's selection, which Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's a great movie. It's a great funny movie. The breakup happens early in the movie, and the heartbreak happens early in the movie. So and it just leads to a great film and better, I guess, career paths and choices, life choices for all the individuals. Everything works out for the best in that situation. And I think these films like that sometimes they do that, and that's a cool thing about them.
What about you, Bob? Anything?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. No, I think that there should be more emotion brought into movie scenes. I mean, people want to feel like they can relate, so I think that they should be more heartbreaking scenes, both comical or both like sad or both depressing or so. As long as they're real, you know what I mean? I think that's important for movies. It seems like we're seeing a lot of like remakes, and there's not a lot of emotion tied to a lot of movies lately. It's more of like action and that type of thing, like spectacle. So it's kind of cool to talk about this without. Hopefully more movies in the future can really make that the focal point, some kind of emotion. I think if you don't hit on any kind of emotion in a movie in a big way, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So hopefully we see more of that in the future.
Thank you for making us feel better about ourselves. Movies. I'm sorry. I thought about our selections and when we did our honorable mentions. I would have mentioned E.T. as a heartbreak, but I kept on thinking about relationship based. So
phone home. Go home.
Be here.
There's this movie about heartbreak. It's an Oscar contender. I believe it's called Nora. And I want to watch that movie, but I heard there's a good heartbreak in that movie as well. A common trend.
Never heard of it.
It looks good. A common trend I saw is people outgrowing people. Movies convey in 2 hours what takes months or years in a regular, normal, true to life, real time relationship. The realization of miscommunication, unmet expectations, personal growth, and changing priorities, they have to capture that really quick. And of course they have to build a love story and then disconnect the love story. And it's really short. Unfortunately, most times movies can't pack in the recovery. And we saw this on some of our movies, but heartbreak has a more profound staying power with people than a happy ending does. So we're left without an instruction manual to convalesce and move forward. That's what's good, because that's where real people and real coping skills should come in. Dramatic tension. It also lets performers reach out to us because we've been hurt or confused. So in that way, they act upon as our surrogates for our struggles. Also, there's humor. In romantic heartbreak, that takes time to understand. And when movies get the humor right, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it helps you get that reflection back into perspective about where you are currently and why heartache was a good lesson. And then lastly, movie breakups ultimately reflect our complex and varied experiences with love and loss. So they represent us, right? It really is an important representation as much as it is entertainment. So thank you, movies, because without you, many of us would not know how to handle those heartbreaking moments.
We could just watch Netflix and TV shows.
So guys, before we leave, I just want to get your thoughts on one thing. The Tyson Jake Paul fight. What did you guys think about it?
Cares. A 58-year-old Mike Tyson versus a guy. You knew the other guy was going to win. You know it's rigged.
Yeah.
They talked in its exhibition. We can't hurt each other. We got to entertain the people. It's pro wrestling. That's what it's turned into.
And Netflix just blew it.
They did. The buffering was horrible. I was watching this fight with my son. I used to tell him when I was your age, we used to go to my friend's house and we used to watch the Tyson fights. So I was amped up. And by the second round, I turned around and he's asleep. I go, I think you're representing the majority of what people are going through. Tyson needs to hang it up. I mean, I think he's given us a lot of great memories.
That was it. I hope that was it.
Yeah, right? It was a nice little payday for him. I mean, shit, he did it for the money. They offered you $2 million to go in the ring for 8 rounds. They'd be like, fuck it. Let's show my ass in a jock strap. Let's do this. $2 million or whatever it is.
Before we go, I'll give a quick prop to a Netflix situation. I saw the second half of the last season of Cobra Kai. Second half was a lot better than that first one.
Okay, I'm one episode in. Yeah,
I stopped watching after they got in another mall fight and they're balancing on the pond. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Can we make it interesting? It's the same shit over and over. Sorry.
And that's why it needs to end, and that's why it is ending. I don't know why it's spread out into 3 parts, but this second part was a lot better.
So I think it became too. Yeah, it should have been more about Johnny.
I'm interested because I'm only 1 episode in, and I think it was the Iron Dragons, or I don't know, that gray team. I was like, okay, these guys are gonna fuck shit up. So I'm interested in seeing what goes on with them. But I'll watch the rest of the episodes probably next weekend. And then
they don't have Bruce Leroy in there. It doesn't matter. That's the only dragon. The last dragon is the only dragon that matters.
I know we'll do a Karate Kid episode somewhere in the future, but we're just waiting for the series to wrap so we could get a full sort of story ending to this. And we're not going to wait for the Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio movie. I think we're okay without that one. But great show, guys. Talking about heartbreak, just an interesting plot device, and we love it. And that's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what you think the best heartbreak movie is, or the best movie heartbreak is, I should say. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on all forms of social media by searching for Formidable Opponents. We want to thank Creative Little Pill for her great artwork. Please follow her on Instagram at Creative Little Pill. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on all podcast platforms you're listening to us on. And join us next episode as we'll be talking about best 70s guitar solos. So for Bob and Joseph, we'll see y'all next week.
I've got a surprise for you.
Those sad tissues are happy tissues.
Bye, everybody.